Good to see you again. Thank you for coming back for some more Cinderella stories. If you didn't watch any of the other videos, just a quick recap. We're reading all kinds of stories that are from around the world in different places. And did you know that everyone kind of has their own Cinderella story that they tell? They're not all exactly the same, but they have a lot of similarities. So they're fun to read all at the same time and then decide what's the same and what's different. So we can compare all different kinds of stories. I always refer to the Disney version of the story because that's the one that we're most familiar with. But there's lots of different ways to tell the Cinderella story. So far this week we read Adelita, and that was a Mexican Cinderella story. So that one's from Mexico. And then we read The Rough-Faced Girl yesterday. This is a Native American Cinderella story. This was very different. There were a lot of differences with this one. And then, so today we're going to, I kind of hinted to this one at the end of yesterday's video, Mufaro's Beautiful Daughters. And this is a Cinderella tale from Africa. So this is an African folk tale that is very similar to, goes along the same lines as Cinderella. So this book, and this is from the school library, you can see that there. This is by John Steptoe. Steptoe. John Steptoe. And he is the author and the illustrator. So he did this book has amazing pictures. So when you read it, this one is really best to have kind of checked out from the library on your own, and you can read it on your own and just really enjoy all the pictures. I'm going to do the best I can to show you all of the pictures. So, a long time ago, you know what I'm noticing? They all start with that. Every Cinderella story starts with a long time ago, and then they tell you the setting. They tell you where it's at. A long time ago, in a certain place in Africa, so we know we're in Africa, a small village lay across a river, a half-day's journey from a city, where a great king lived. A man named Mufaro lived in this village with his 2 daughters, who were called Manyara and Nyasha. I hope I'm saying those right. Everyone agreed that Manyara and Nyasha were very beautiful. So the name of the story is called Mufaro's Beautiful Daughters. So they were very beautiful. Manyara was almost always had a bad temper. That's not good, is it? She teased her sister whenever her father's back was turned, and she had been heard to say, "Someday, Nyasha, I will be queen, and you will be a servant in my household." "If that should come to pass," Nyasha responded, "I will be pleased to serve you. But why do you say such things? You are clever and strong and beautiful. Why are you so unhappy?" "Because everyone talks about how kind you are, and they praise everything you do," Manyara replied. "I'm certain that Father loves you best, but when I am queen, everyone will know that your silly kindness is only a weakness." She sounds kind of jealous, doesn't she? Yeah. Nyasha was sad that Manyara felt this way, but she ignored her sister's words and went about her chores. Nyasha kept a small plot of land on which she grew millet, sunflowers, yams, and vegetables. She always sang as she worked, and some said it was her singing that made her crops more bountiful than anyone else. One day, Nyasha noticed a small garden snake resting beneath a yam vine. "Good day, little Nayoka," she called to him. "You are welcome here. You will keep away any creatures who might spoil my vegetables." She bent forward, gave the little snake a loving pat. I don't know if I could do that. And then she returned to her work. From that day on, Naoko was always at Naisha's side when she tended her garden. It was said that she sang all the more sweetly when he was there. So she has a little friend that helps her in her garden. Aren't those illustrations beautiful? Look at all the flowers. Mufaro knew nothing of how Manera, why can't I say her name? Manera treated Nyasha. Nyasha was too considerate of her father's feelings to complain. And Manera was always careful to behave herself when Mufaro was around. Early one morning, a messenger from the city arrived. The great king wanted a wife. The most worthy and beautiful daughters in the land are invited to appear before the king, and he will choose one to become queen. Does that sound familiar? Yep, a prince looking for a princess, or a king looking for a queen. Mufaro called Manyara and Nyasha to him. It would be a great honor to have one of you chosen, he said. Prepare yourselves to journey to the city. I will call together all of our friends and make a wedding party. We will leave tomorrow as the sun rises. But father, Manyara said sweetly, it would be painful for either of us to leave you, even to be wife for the king. I know Nyasha would grieve to death if she was parted from you. I am strong. Send me to the city, and let poor Nyasha be here to help you. Mufaro beamed with pride. The king has asked for the most worthy and the most beautiful. No, Manyara, I cannot send you alone. Only a king can choose between two such worthy daughters. Both of you must go. Why did she want to be the only one? Yeah, she doesn't want her sister to be the queen. She wants to be queen. Oh, this already looks bad. That night, when everyone was asleep, Manyara stole quietly out of the village. She had never been in the forest at night before, and she was frightened. But her greed to be the first to appear, the king drove her on. In her hurry, she almost stumbled over a small boy who suddenly appeared, standing in the path. Please, said the boy, I am hungry. Will you give me something to eat? I have brought only enough for myself, she said. But please, said the boy, I am so hungry. Out of my way, boy. Tomorrow I will become your queen. How dare you stand in my path? Not very nice. After traveling for what seemed like a great distance, Manyara came to a small clearing. There, silhouetted against the moonlight. Silhouetted mean? What's a silhouette? Have you ever heard that word? It's a good word. A silhouette is an outline of something. So if you're silhouetted against the moonlight, then the moon is behind you and you're outlined with the moon. An old woman was seated on a large stone. The old woman spoke. I will give you some advice, Manyara, she said. Soon after you pass the place where the two paths cross, you will see a grove of trees. They will laugh at you. You must not laugh in return. Later you will meet a man with his head under his arm. You must be polite to him. How do you know my name? How dare you advise your future queen? Stand aside, you ugly old woman. Manyara scolded, and then she rushed on her way without looking back. She's not being very kind, is she? So there's the old woman in the trees, trying to give her some advice. And there she is, rushing along, trying to get to the city. Just as the old woman had foretold, Manyara came to a grove of trees, and they did indeed seem to be laughing at her. I must be calm, Manyara thought. I will not be frightened. She looked up in the trees and laughed out loud. I laugh at you, trees, she shouted, and she hurried on. It was not yet dawn when Minara heard the sound of rushing water. The river must be up ahead, she thought. The great city is just on the other side. But there on the rise she saw a man with his head tucked under his arm. Minara ran past him without speaking. A queen will only acknowledge only those who please her, she said to herself. I will be queen. I will be queen, she chanted, and she hurried on towards the city. Whew, thought I was going to have a coughing fit. So, she traveled to the city. Was she kind along the way? Very kind. Did she listen to anyone's advice? Nope, did not listen to anyone's advice either. So we're going to see what happens when Nyasha goes. Nyasha woke at the first light of dawn. As she put on her finest garment, she thought of how her life might be changed forever beyond this day. I'd much prefer to live here, she admitted to herself. I would hate to leave this village and never see my father or sing to little Nyoka again. Little Nyoka was the snake in the garden. Her thoughts were interrupted by loud shouts and a commotion from the wedding party assembled outside. Minara was missing. Everyone bustled about, searching and calling for her. When they found her footprints on the path that led to the city, they decided they should go as planned. As the wedding party moved through the forest, brightly plumed birds darted about in cool green shadows beneath the trees. Though she was anxious about her sister. What does that mean? She was anxious about her sister. Yeah, she was feeling really worried about her sister. Nyasha was soon filled with excitement about all there was to see. They were deep in the forest when she saw the small boy standing by the side of the path. You must be hungry, she said, and she handed him a yam she had brought for her lunch. The boy smiled and disappeared as quietly as he had come. Later, as they were approaching the place where the two paths crossed, the old woman appeared and silently pointed the way to the city. Nyasha thanked her and gave her a small pouch filled with sunflower seeds. The sun was high in the sky when the party came to the grove of towering trees. Their uppermost branches seemed to bow down to Nyasha as she passed beneath them. At last, someone announced that they were near their destination. So was her travel different? Yeah, she was kind to the old woman. She gave the boy food. She was kind to everyone she came across. So her travel to the city was much different than her sister's. Nyasha ran ahead and topped the rise before the others could catch up with her. She stood transfixed. There she is, standing transfixed. What does that word mean? You can look at the picture and kind of get a hint. Is she kind of amazed what she's looking at? Yeah, she's just frozen, looking out over the land at how beautiful it is. She stood transfixed at her first sight of the city. Oh, my father, she called. A great spirit must stand guard here. Just look at what lies before us. I never in all of my life dreamed there could be anything so beautiful. Arm in arm, Nyasha and her father descended the hill. They crossed the river and they approached the city gate. Just as they entered through the great doors, the air was rent with piercing cries, and Minara ran wildly out of the chamber. Where'd they go? Wildly out of the chamber at the center of the enclosure. When she saw Nyasha, she fell upon her, sobbing. Do not go to the king, my sister. Oh, please, do not let her go, she cried hysterically. There's a great monster in there, a snake with 5 heads. He said that he knew all my faults and that I displeased him. He would have swallowed me alive if I had not run. Oh, my sister, please, do not go inside that place. Does she look frightened? Yeah, he really scared her. Huh. I wonder what would happen if Naisha went in there. It frightened Naisha to see her sister so upset. But leaving her father to comfort Manara, she bravely made her way to the chamber and opened the door. Do you want to make a prediction? What do you think is going to happen? Will she see a five? Was it 5 heads? Yeah. Will she see a snake with 5 heads? Or will she see the king? Maybe. Or maybe something different. All right. On the seat. Oh, wait. I'm going to read it like this, so you have to wait. On the seat of the great chief's stool lay a little... What is it? Yeah, it's a little garden snake. Naisha laughed with relief and joy. "My little friend," she exclaimed, "it's such a pleasure to see you. But why are you here?" "I am the king," Naoka replied. And there, before Naisha's eyes, the garden snake changed shape. Is he a snake? No, he's the king. "I am the king. I am also the hungry boy with whom you shared a yam in the forest, and the old woman to whom you made a gift of sunflower seeds. But you know me best as Naoka. Because I have seen all of these, I know that you are the most worthy and most beautiful daughter in the land. It would make me very happy if you would be my wife." And so it was that, a long time ago, Naisha agreed to be married. The king's mother and sisters took Naisha to their house, and the wedding preparations began. The best weavers in the land laid out their finest cloth for the wedding garments. Villagers from all around were invited to the celebration, and a great feast was held. Naisha prepared the bread for the wedding feast from millet that she had brought from her own village. Mufaro proclaimed to all who would hear him that he was the happiest father in all of the land. For he was blessed with 2 beautiful and worthy daughters, Naisha the queen, and Manara, a servant in the queen's household. What did she used to tell Naisha when she was mean to her when they were younger? Yeah, she said she was going to be queen and that Naisha would be her servant. That didn't come to pass, did it? And then look at all those beautiful illustrations at the end. So they show Naisha in lots of different ways. The end. There's some end pages for you with the forest, or more like a jungle, I think, that they had to walk through. All right. So that was Mufaro's beautiful daughters. So can you think of a way that it was the same as Cinderella? Or maybe the same as the rough-faced girl? Or Adelita? Yeah. Adelita had some stepsisters, right? That were unkind to her. This one was a lot like Cinderella, with the stepsisters and the evil stepmother, right? And then rough-faced girl was a little bit different. She had sisters that were unkind to her. Mufaro's beautiful daughters, they were also just sisters, right? They weren't stepsisters, they were sisters. But did this one have a character that was very kind? And that's what the prince saw in her kindness? How about the rough-faced girl? Yeah, that one too. He saw her kindness and he knew that she was the one that he wanted to marry. So I think kindness is a really big theme in all of these Cinderella stories. That it is important to treat people with kindness and to be good to one another, right? All right, my fabulous first graders. that was the story for today. Maybe tomorrow we'll do, which way am I pointing? The Egyptian Cinderella. Do you see that sitting on my couch back there? So maybe we'll do that one tomorrow. All right. See you again. Don't forget to join me. Thank you.